Welcome to Backstage with Richard Ridge, where I sit with some of the theater's best and brightest, just chatting it up. This time we're at Sardi's with one of Broadway's favorite and nicest leading men. He made his Broadway debut in the musical Saturday Night Fever and has gone on to star in such shows as Altar Boys, The Wedding Singer, Legally Blonde, 9 to 5, Wicked, Jersey Boys, and The Mystery of Edwin Drood. And he has just opened in the iconic role of boxer Rocky Balboa in the new musical Rocky, giving what many critics are calling a career-defining performance. Please welcome my friend, Andy Karl.
You've defined my career right there.
A lot of people have defined your career this week.
You mentioned Wedding Singer, which Broadway database won't put on there because I didn't give them a actual program that said I was in it, because I replaced somebody for just a moment, they won't acknowledge it. But now it's official. It's official.
It's official. So listen, you just had the most incredible opening night.
Yeah, it was amazing.
And some incredible personal reviews. Did you read reviews? Did you read them?
This one, somebody was reading them to my wife on speakerphone, because I was like, I'm not reading them. And then I heard a couple of nice things, and I was like, oh, now I want to hear them. So it was nice to hear the great things, and even the stuff that was mixed. I was like, you know what? Everybody's got a point of perspective, but I think you have to come see the show to make your opinion. And people are out of their seats every night, so I think we're doing pretty good.
You're doing great. Yeah. Like I said, some incredible personal reviews. You were so wonderful in this show.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Opening night, big opening night. They closed the street outside the Winter Garden. It was Sylvester Stallone, all these stars. Have you been able to put that whole night into perspective? I'm still sort of playing it back in my head. Now I'm seeing some of the pictures that are coming out, and it's incredible. Like, what's my life right now? So I think it all comes at some point in someone's life. Your 15 minutes, or maybe it'll be longer. Hopefully longer. That you have a lot of time ahead of you.
Yeah, you can hang out with the stars, and it was it was interesting and lovely, and just as long as everybody there loved it, that was really important to me. I'm like, whether you're a star or not. Will Smith and Jada Pinkett came to see the show the other day, and Will said, and I'll take this to such a great. He said, I haven't had an experience like that in the theater in a long time, and it came right out. Like, he meant that, and that was really prideful for me, because this guy, he's seen everything. He played Ali, so he kind of understands the whole boxing thing, but also he had just a wonderful time. So yeah, I'm certain people who come see the show will. I guarantee it. This is your first big starring role on Broadway that you've created from scratch. Yeah. What has it been like taking on such an iconic role? I started with Rocky about 3 years ago. Lynn Ahrens and Steve Flaherty and Tom Meehan hired me to do the reading for Stallone, who sat 5 feet away from me, and while we were reading this off of books, and that was crazy. And my ears were burning for the first 5 minutes. Like, how am I going to get through this? Stallone's sitting there, and I'm going, yo, Adrian. And he's like, he's going to think I'm a jerk, or he's going to like it. So I lucked out. He liked what I was doing. And, I just kept building it from there, and taking his advice, but also learning a lot through doing the boxing and taking on the physical demands. And there's just something about this role that really connects with me. I don't know if it's that working class hero idea. Sure. Also just with my own career, like, doing, roles and having great success with character roles and things like that, and getting an ensemble, and then now thrust into the front. It's like, okay, you want to be a lead, you're gonna have to get punched in the face. take on Stallone's role, Rocky, and I took the Rocky spirit and just met the challenge, and so hopefully I'm doing something people love.
This ain't about brave, this ain't about tough, and wanting it bad ain't good enough, 'cause everyone knows there won't be a chance in hell I'll win. I know where I'm from, I know who I am, but something in me don't give a damn. See it through, keep on standing.
Did you send an online audition or a video audition that Lynn and Stephen had seen?
Yes, I was in Atlanta filming Joyful Noise with Dolly Parton, another favorite actress, and Jeremy Jordan. I'm dropping names, people. Dropping names. Queen Latifah was in it too. So I was out there and I heard about the audition, and I was like, that's silly. They're making Rocky the musical. But my agents were like, no, it's taking it very seriously. We want you to send in something for them. Can you send in something? So I did. I was in the bedroom of this apartment that I was renting at the time, and I was like, you know what, I'll sing a rock tune, and I'll try, I'll wear my tank top, see what happens. And I didn't have to speak any lines, but, I was like, hi, I'm Andy Karl, and I was speaking low, just to give a hint. But I sent it, and I hadn't really used Vimeo before, whatever online thing I was using, and it came out like this big on their screen. So I had sent it wrong. I had sent this huge file and just this little so they were looking at the audition on their screens like this, I guess he's okay. Let's have him back. So I finally came back to New York, and they saw me again, and everything just sort of worked out in the room, and it was great. And I'd never worked with any of them before, so they took a chance on somebody they didn't know.
Because Lynn and Stephen told me when they watched that little video, Lynn said her shoulders just dropped and said, "He is Rocky."
That's amazing to hear, because at the same point, I do feel very connected to this role. As we went along with the readings, I was like, I told the producers and I told Lynn, I was like, I love this role. You have to understand that I'll go to Germany and I'll speak German, which I don't speak, which I'm glad they didn't do that, because it would have been this bad, German accent in a low voice. But apparently the guy in Germany was great, so, and they did well with the show out there, and they came back, but, luckily they used me for here.
So what has it been like getting to know Stallone, and what sort of insight and conversations did you two have?
He's really wonderful. I honor this guy, because here's a guy who's created 3 iconic movie sequel ideas with Rocky and with Rambo and now the Expendables. Who does that in their lifetime? Who can create something that can have sequel after sequel on here's somebody who's tapping into something that America really loves, and he did that with Rocky, his very first film. So there's a lot of respect I have for this guy, and he comes in, he can talk about Rocky for a long time. He doesn't mind talking about it. And so we had an interview together where I just kept asking him questions. He was explaining how it went on and what happened during that day and that scene, and I could have spent hours with him, but his security was like, okay, that's enough.
They're taking him out.
Yeah, but since then I've had several other meetings with him, and he's helped me find how to throw punches from the shoulders, that kind of stuff. But also, he said something really interesting the other day about what song is in Rocky's heart is "A Smile, Though Your Heart Is Breaking," and that hit me. And it's something that only he could say and know about that character and lend that to me, that really clued me into something about the type of character this guy is. So he's been helpful, but he's not been overbearing at all. He doesn't want to own this role. He wants me to own it. And that takes a lot of balls.
Sure.
Especially to make it a musical, which is a high-risk thing anyway. But it's amazing that he took his baby, Rocky, which still plays today, several times a day, I'm sure, somewhere and on some television channel somewhere, and to be able to take that and say, you know what, I do want to put this on stage. He could have let it live in infamy and never have touched it, and still would speak to people this day. But now it's taking a new format, and at the Winter Garden it looks spectacular, and it's still got that same heart, and it's still got that same drive and that same conquering dignity that we have, and the great love story between Adrian and Rocky. So I could go on and on. So,
sure. The last part of the show, that climatic fight scene, is some of the best stagecraft ever. What has it been like working on the fight choreography with Stephen Hoggett? I mean, you and Terrence look so perfect up there.
Thanks. I'm glad we got it right. I told Steve Hoggett, if there's any nominations that I get to punch you in the face, just once, because I've taken a lot of punches.
Get those gloves ready. Yeah.
So no, please. It doesn't really. It's like I love that the audiences love it. So that speaks everything to what you want to do in theater. he's got this great sense of humor, Steve Hoggett. And he's also got this great ability to click over into let's get this done in the right way and make sure that we create these characters, and how they throw their punches speaks volumes about their character as well. Terrence Archie, who plays Apollo, Apollo's supposed to throw punches fast, and he's on top, and he's always making connections to the head, getting a lot of points up there. And Rocky is low and slow and just driving to the body. And that speaks volumes about the type of people they are, which I found very interesting about learning boxing. And it's just that Steve Hoggett knows how to translate that story, and we do it every night.
How much time did you put into the rehearsal process of working on the fight?
We started with every day. We started boxing during rehearsals back in December from, at least minimum 3 hours. The first couple days were 6 hours. So we spent a lot of time of the day in rehearsals working on that fight. And it was, at the end of the day, just taking those punches to the head and learning how to take punches to the head. So I got some bumps and bruises, black eyes, sore necks, and that's in the learning process. Now, if I don't get hit during the show, I can't concentrate. I was like, you have to hit me, just let's do it. And so he gets up. Sometimes they hit harder than usual, and he's like, Terrence said, I'm sorry. Well, after he hit me, I was like, no, let's do this. And I just kept wailing. We were wailing on each other, but I mean, it's a science, and it's not as risky as it sounds. It is choreographed, but there are moments in the show where the energy in the house is different, and people are cheering for this, and we go in and we try to act these punches, and they are real. It's just that we know where most of them are coming from.
Yeah.
Some we don't.
So, before rehearsals and during rehearsals, what kind of training did you do to get yourself into shape? And did you gain like 12 pounds of muscle?
When we first started, I'll call it 12 pounds of muscle. It was 12 pounds of something. Because I saw pictures when we were starting rehearsals, and I had been working out a couple months with a trainer, and I'm like now one of those guys that, where's my protein shake? I was using a mass gainer back then, so I was getting pumped up with the mass gainer. I drank a lot of that, doing about 4,000 calories. So I was doing a lot of calories during the day, and all the while, the media and the people who were taking pictures, snapping photos because they want to see the process. So I just saw, all I saw was this gut, and my jowls were here. I'm like 12 pounds heavier, but it was also building all this muscle underneath. So we finally get closer to the performance, and I'm working out every day at 7 a.m., then going there and boxing all day, and then doing scenes till 6, and then going home, going to sleep, and do it all over again every single day. And finally, as we get closer to the actual performance, the weight just starts dropping off because I stopped eating so much mass gainer, and just started in a lean diet, and everything my trainer said came through, like all these cuts and all these things that were showing up, and it was tough, and it was exhausting, but I finally, okay, I'm starting to look okay. I don't look like some meathead who just not in shape. And so I'm going to say that now. There's people who are in shape out there in the world and on Broadway who I'll never be able to get close to. But for me, I'm at the best shape of my life, and that's basically to handle those 8 shows a week with montages of boxing and working out and going upstairs and doing all these songs and being on stage 95% of the time. It's a workout, which I always thought Broadway was. Every actor on Broadway has it's 8 shows a week. It's a lot. So, and there's all this energy that goes with it. So maintaining that now is a part of the process, and it's also a psychological part of the process.
A lot of it, I would think, is
because when you're adapting your body that way, you go through all sorts of am I doing this right? Is this going to happen? How can I get there? And I want to push harder. I want to get to the next level, and I'm still finding goals for myself physically, and certainly with the show, I'm making choices that keep it fresh, and so it's that's part of the process. That's a long answer to that process.
And working with this cast and creative team,
amazing. Again, I'd never worked with Lynn and Steve, but I'd always been fans of their music, and Tom Meehan's illustrious career. It's ridiculous. All these people are at the top of their game. Alex Timber's top of his game right now. He's a very hot director, and there's a reason for that because he's very good. Steve Hoggett, amazing with his choreography in Once, and also, you know, doing something like Rocky, which is very different, cultivating a, you know, something that they're being creative people as well as, you know, creating good material. They're pushing themselves. Everybody's pushing themselves. Kelly Devine's choreographer, she wanted to do it correctly. I could mention all the creatives, but even the backstage crew, they are on this ride, and they want to follow the Rocky spirit too, and they're all really proud, and we're all very proud of what we're doing, especially me. So I'm just very proud of everybody that's in the show. The entire cast is wonderful, but the creatives have just been amazing to work with and genuinely great people. So I think because we all know we feel something there, we feel this energy and this Rocky spirit, and we're trying to keep things very positive and driven, and we're going to keep doing that as long as this show will run. Maybe it'll run forever.
Well, you're going to be there for quite some time.
Like Cats.
Cats, exactly, at the Winter Garden. So you just had your opening, and last night you recorded the cast album.
We recorded the cast
all
album.
Day?
Which made just a little rough today.
It must be great to open on Broadway, to star in a show, and to record the cast album.
Yeah, it's kind of that thing. I mean, we just opened. We just did all these previews. We just had this great opening night party. We went through the weekend of our shows. Day off, get back in the studio, and really, like, you know, keep in the vibe of this show. And so I'm just, you know, I'm there to support and be proud, and also to work as hard as I can and for the show. And I think the album's going to rock. It's definitely got a very different sound than I've ever done before on a cast album. It's got these beautiful melodies and these huge ballads, but it's also got this grit to it, and it's really an interesting piece, and just I can't wait to hear it.
Good for you. I want to go back to the beginning. Where did your love for performing begin, and what input did your parents have in that?
Well, my mother she's the one that made it happen, I would suppose, in a weird way. I don't know how weird it is. I was doing bad things. I got caught smoking in the boys' room when I was in high school. It was, you know, you do it once,
Typical.
and you get, and I got suspended, and it was this thing where my mother was just like, "What are you doing?" But she knew I liked to sing in the chorus of my high school, my public high school in Towson, and from there she was like, she wanted me to have something to do, because I had been a swimmer when I was a kid, and I always had something to do, and I sort of fell out of that, and then I had nothing else to do on the side. I'd do some sports, things like that. But she knew I was creative. She knew I drew. She knew I liked to play piano, a little bit of guitar, just picking up things by ear. So she made me audition for a children's show for Aladdin. Not the Disney Aladdin, but I played Aladdin, which is weird. And then playing in The Mystery of Edwin Drood, you know, having to paint my face again. And
It all came back.
It all came back. And so it's all full circle now.
You cut your theater teeth in dinner theater.
Yeah.
That was a good training ground for you, wasn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, talk about the $5, you know, shows.
But a big $5.
Yeah, and Margot Seibert, who plays Adrienne, she and I, we both worked at Toby's Dinner Theater back in Maryland. We didn't know we were.
Okay.
She was in Howard County, I'm in Baltimore County, but we're both Marylanders, and so we've been through some of the same things, but I'd never met her before. So we got cast, and then I was like, why don't we go out to lunch, because this is going to be one of those trains we're going to have to get on and just ride. So let's just, you know, be comfortable with each other. Started talking. She's, you know, and I said something about, I was working at Toby's. She's like, what? She used to scoop ice cream at Toby's. So, and I was like, and I used to serve goblets of, you know, the Razzle Dazzle drink while I was in Shenandoah. And what
It's
else?
like one day I'll be up there.
Yeah, one day. So you know, it's one of those great things I did in dinner theater. You really have to cut your teeth somewhere. With any theater, you have to have experience. I think you can go to college all you want, but you have to get out there in the real world and understand how, you know, the financials are all going to have to work a certain way. You're going to have to love this, or you're going to hate it. You know, it's like you got to have a passion for it, or you might as well not do it, because theater is one of those things where it's like, I'm going to have a great year or a terrible year. It's a good year so far. So you know, knock on wood.
You're in good shape. First breaks always mean the most to everybody. Yours was the tour of the Who's Tommy, right?
Yeah, that was like a non-equity tour. I mean, I'd done some regional stuff as well, but I think that the first Broadway equity show I got was Cats, and I auditioned at the Winter Garden. and
Lucky
I got
theater
the role.
for you, yeah.
Lucky theater for me. I mean, this was years ago, and it was like the Broadway national tour of this show, and it's so interesting to have that was like my first audition to get into a real live Broadway production show where I was like, I can't believe I did it. I actually made it.
Let's go back to your Broadway debut, Night Fever. Everybody wanted to be in Saturday Night Fever.
I saw Orfeh in Footloose. She was on as an understudy because I was here watching shows. I saw the original, not original Cabaret, but the Cabaret that was with Alan Cumming before they revived it just now.
Before the second revival.
And the second show I saw was Footloose, and I saw Orfeh sing this song, and I was like, wow, who's that girl? So then she got into Saturday Night Fever a little bit later, and I saw her performance, and I was like, oh my God, this girl with that voice, she killed it. Like, she owns this theater. And I also the dancing that was in the show it was so much fun, that show, to watch, that I had an audition for it, and I was like, I want to get in that show. I want to make sure that so I got better at my dancing, and I certainly improved my dancing. Went to Broadway Dance Center. It's just a good thing to have as a skill. If you're going to be in musicals, you might as well have some dancing.
Sure.
And just for me, the physical stuff clicks with me.
So did you learn your disco dancing at Broadway Dance Center?
No,
for this
I
show?
learned it for the show, during the show, in rehearsals. So that was a technique. They were very patient with me. But now I can say I can lift these girls over my head while I'm spinning, and then drop them here, and then drop them to the floor, and these incredible lifts and this beautiful dancing. I'm surprised I didn't get Tony nominations for just dancing, because that was incredible dancing. I know I did it, and it was a great experience, and also where I met my.
All right, so
future wife.
You saw her in Footloose, but you worked together in Night Fever. Was it love at first sight?
Yes, essentially. A hair designer, John Jordan, that I knew from, he does a lot of Broadway shows. He had talked about her to me while I was going to be going into the show, and vice versa, talked to her about me. Did I say that correctly?
Yeah.
He had discussed us with each other.
To each other.
On separate occasions. So that sort of sparked the idea of she's like, you're gonna love her, you're gonna have an amazing time with her. And, but I also was sort of in awe of her talents, especially in that show. I mean, she killed it. But I found out how sweet she was, and she's gorgeous, and it was this sort of thing of wow, that's the girl with the full package. I mean, and I didn't, she also is just this woman that knows what she wants as well. So immediately we got together. We dated for 6 months. Engaged after 6 months, got married a month after that, and 13 years and rolling right now. So
Congratulations,
thanks.
Good for you too. We all fell in love with you here when you played Luke in Ultra Boys. How much fun was that show doing?
It was great. I mean, there's few times, and Rocky has the same thing, that you can be with a group of guys that we all know our pecking order, but we all get along, and we all are giving our talent, everything that we have, and it was the best time. I mean, from Tyler Maynard to Scott Porter, David Josephberry. We had this incredible time on stage, and the audience response to it was, we were all like, oh, people like this thing. It's hilarious. We think it's hilarious, but when people start accepting it as part of a lexicon of fun theater, and it has had tours, and it's gone, and it spent a long time off Broadway, which not many shows stick around that long. I think it was 5 years.
Both of you did Legally Blonde at the Palace. Did you both know you were going into the show together?
I'd done a lot of the readings before, and then she auditioned, and they put her through the ringer. They had her audition for 6 different callbacks. Then they said no, and then they were like, wait a minute. They called her back again, and she got it, and she killed it. Tony nomination, the whole thing. I saw it. I was like, let's just do this. We have chemistry is already built in. It's wonderful. There's a great little love story. So it all ended up being really great as far as getting to work with each other, because that's like a paid vacation.
Oh,
really,
sure.
And now because I barely see the woman because we've been going through previews and opening night.
Let's get into 9 to 5, because you worked with, like you said, Allison Janney, who you talked about, captaining and shepherding a show. Joe Mantello was your director.
Yes. And he also in Wicked,
Wicked.
he handed me Wicked as well.
So I was going to ask you, how did you get into Wicked?
nice
Was it because of Joe?
It was absolutely because of Joe, and you know I'll take that nepotism for whatever it is. But it's because he cares about people that he likes, and I think it was a great compliment. I think he also trusted that I could do the role as well. Fiyero and Wicked, which I did, which I loved.
Yeah.
Just talk about being part of a fantastic show that really knocks people's socks off. I could watch it still, and you know, the end of that first act when she's flying and the lasers and the smoke and craziness, it's chills. So working in 9 to 5, you know, they created this love character with Violet, who was played by Allison Janney. So I played Joe, basically your average Joe guy in the office with glasses and nice, you know, corduroy jacket and some patches on his elbows. And nice guy, nice Joe. But it was very touching. It was also, you know, to see this guy who wanted to have, you know, really thought that Violet was this wonderful person, and to give her that dignity of finding love within the show, I thought was very smart. And so it was great. It was a lovely role, and it had a lovely song, and you know, also to work with all these names.
And Dolly Parton and
Megan Hilty and Stephanie J. Block and Allison up there, just, you know, killing it. And Mark Kudish as well.
Yeah.
I mean, just great to be a part of those teams and those names, and you understand when you're working with them how much passion they carry with them and why they work as much as they do.
Sure. So after that, Joe, who was your director, Joe Mantello, 9 to 5, got you into Wicked.
Yeah, I will certainly say that I got the call that, you know, from my agent saying that, you know, they'd like to have you in for Wicked, which, you know, it's a great call to not have to really audition, but I guess 9 to 5 was really my audition for the director. I had to spend a lot of time through tech and getting the scene right, and that he could trust me to do the role, which, you know, that's how a lot of things get cast, and that was an interesting concept as well. It's like, oh, I've been here long enough. I've worked with as many people as I've worked with. Chances and opportunities come along where, you know, you can take them for what they are.
Jersey Boys. You're a part of the Jersey Boys family. What does that role of Tommy DeVito mean to you?
It means that role, stepping into that role, because there was so much monologue, there was so much comedy, you know, but also be the bad guy at the same time for me is keeping the charm of the character, and so much heavy lifting as far as like introing the show and keeping that arc. That's what really gave me the confidence to do something like a Rocky. I was like, if I'm going to step out on stage and in this great show where you have to, you know, be this Tommy DeVito who's an actual living, breathing person, and also convince, you know, these people, these crowds, which are a lot of Jersey people come in, and that's the Jersey Boys is part of their lives, you know, and when I go out of the stage door and they're telling me, great show, I loved your Tommy, you know, so, and they get excited about it. I saw how, you know, taking on a role like that can really, a nice meaty role with a lot of charm, a lot of wit, and a lot of personality and heart can affect people. And so it was one of those things where I was like, if I could do this, I could pretty much do anything.
Well, let's talk about Drood.
Yeah.
Shameless. You guys looked like you were having the most fun up there. At
it was
Drood.
Really, it was the most shameless show I've ever done. And to be able to sort of get away with it at the same time, because the audience was having as much fun as we were, it sort of throws that thing at you. Again, I learned something new about, you know, really, if you're going to ad-lib, there were scripted parts in which you had to, if you were voted for something, you had to sing a certain song, but also you could add your own style to it. When Chita Rivera and I were voted as lovers, I mean, it was the most ridiculous thing. In my mind, I was like, I'm on stage with Chita Rivera, we're going to make out now and talk about, you know, how much we love each other with an Indian accent. I had to do the whole thing. So it was sort of like, let's just blow all this, you know, creativity out of the water and see where it lands. And I've never laughed so hard in my life. And working with Jessie Mueller as my sister, who's, you know, she's playing a lead now. I mean, everything's so great to see, like, all these great people working. And it was, she and I got along so well playing brother and sister. You know, it's like, we still text each other, call each other all the time. So it was one of those things where it was a great experience. Like
a magical time.
Yeah.
There you are, I kiss you dead, there you are, just like the West of Best is where you are, yes, there you are.
Drama Desk Award.
It was, which was funny because at the same time, I'm doing all this creative stuff, but we're also having the blast, this time of our lives in the show, and I'm laughing so much on and off stage, and to do that and have time and then get a nomination, I thought that was just really like that's so much to take in, and but I was very proud of that. I was very proud that my goofiness came in handy for a nomination. But that's how it works. I see performances all the time who are nominated for these awards because they're in it and they're living and they're letting it free and having a great time.
When you walk to work every night and walk down Broadway to the Winter Garden Theater, what goes through your mind?
This is gonna hurt. I'm gonna get in that ring. It's gonna hurt, but it's at the same time. I always think of I always think of this kid that came to see the show early in previews. 9 years old. I think his name was Liam. He was dressed in a full Rocky robe, Rocky muscle shirt, eye makeup under his eye like he'd been punched. He had his wraps on. Everybody noticed him, and especially me. Here's this kid who loves this story. And for me, I was that same kid that loved, Rocky 3, Rocky 4. I grew up on those films, and I think about that kid almost every night that we do the show. Like, how am I going to inspire the kid in all of us? I see grown men in the balcony, like, raising their arms when I'm, at the top of the stairs, and they're just going nuts. Or Eye of the Tiger kicks in, and there's no guy in that audience that isn't like, Eye of the Tiger's coming up. I just talk about things that are inspirational and bring that good feeling to people. That's sort of what I live off of, is that audience response. And towards the end of the show, maybe it's not too safe. If it's a terrible night, I'm like, what am I doing wrong? But it's so far we've had every show. Just, they go nuts.
Well, thank you so much for sitting with me today.
Thank
Just
you.
days after you open, no one deserves this success more than you do.
Thank you very much.
We've been back a long time.
Yes. You're
The best?
from the beginnings here.
From the beginnings. Go to the Winter Garden Theater and see Andy give one of the finest performances you will see this season.
If I fall, let me get up. If I'm hurt, let me keep going. If a prayer can never come true, let me think of you and try to keep on standing.